Vamos a grabar aquí. Y buenos días, buenos días. ¡Ah! Está lloviendo. Wow, raining. ¡Ah! La lluvia, la lluvia. I'm very excited by small things in life. Okay. Anytime I don't have to water the trees, I get very excited. Okay. Vamos a ver. Vamos a practicar con verbos regulares. We're going to practice with regular verbs now. This is kind of the meat and potatoes kind of thing about Spanish that it will take you a while to get used to, unless, I will get this exception. For people who grew up with their first language being Italian or German or French, this whole idea of verb conjugations is kind of a meh, not that big a deal, because they have similar kinds of structures in those languages. And therefore, when they move into Spanish, it's like, oh, well, okay, they're going to be different endings. Let's see what they are. And conceptually, it's an easy thing to do. For English speakers, it winds up being kind of a pain in the behind. Mainly for this reason, you've got all those different conjugations. And, in English, we do not. So in English, when you've got the verb look, it's look and looks. I look, you look, he looks, we look, they look. Look and looks, that's it. Okay. Now we got a lot of irregular verbs in English, but basically you got that many conjugations. Well, now you got to move up to this many, and that is intimidating. And you got to think about who's doing the action. So people typically ask, in case this has occurred to you, people have asked. One of my friends who's from Chile, who used to teach next door to me, she said, I get so annoyed when people ask this. They say, do I really have to learn all those conjugations? Can't I just use the infinitive? Like, can't I just take hablar, to speak, and say, yo hablar? And she'd say, no, you cannot do that. And indeed, to a native Spanish speaker, that is kind of an annoying thing. Because for us, it's very difficult to learn those conjugations, but it is necessary because the verb in Spanish does all the work. It is the workhorse of the sentence, okay? The verb tells you what the action is: look, eat, speak, sing, whatever the action is. It tells you who's doing it according to the conjugation. It tells you when the action is happening. Is it right now? Is it future? Is it past? Okay, because all of those tenses will have different conjugations. So while for those of us who grew up speaking English, this tends to be rather a sticking point, a difficult thing to do, it is really necessary to make yourself understood. Okay, to make it clear. So we're going to start off with a chart, and then we're going to get into practice. We're going to look at AR verbs first. I'm going to introduce ER verbs down the line, okay, soon. And actually, you'll see them here. So when we look at the chart, if we're just looking at the section on the left, a la izquierda, on the left, with the AR verbs that are regular verbs, you see what happens. These are the conjugation endings. So every time we conjugate a verb in Spanish, in present or in past, because it's a little different sometimes with future, but in present or in past, the first job we've got to do is take off that AR. Take off the AR, which in English is like, it would be like saying, nobody says I too look, right? The verb is to look. We have to take away the to. Okay, not too big a leap. You have to take away the AR for an AR verb. And then we slap on one of these endings. to put it into a form that people can understand. Okay, so I'm going to take a not standard verb because everybody does hablar and they do it to death. Let's take a verb like cantar. Cantar, C-A-N-T-A-R. Cantar means to sing. Okay. Cantar, we would take off the A-R. We would be left with C-A-N-T, cant. To say I'm singing, it's canto, right? To talk to you and say, hey, you're singing, you're up next. Karaoke night at the bar, right? It would be cantas. To say he or she, one person is singing, it's canta. And usted, the formal you, shares the same verb endings as talking about one person. So, usted canta, él canta, ella canta. Anytime you're talking about a onesie kind of person, right? Those are the singular endings. Canto, cantas, canta. Okay? These o endings and a endings are not what you learned for nouns as feminine, masculine. Gender, masculine, feminine, exists in the world of nouns and words that talk about or describe nouns. Gender, as in masculine, feminine, does not exist for verbs. Gender is completely a disconnected topic from verbs. So this o ending does not mean a male person doing it, okay? That ending does not mean a female person. It could be, but it isn't necessarily, right? Verb endings have no gender, okay? Okay, so singular endings. Yo, first person. Tú, second person. Él or ella or usted, third person. But singular, singular, just one person doing that action, okay? If we go look at the plural forms for nosotros, meaning yo, I am there, but I got other people with me. Yeah, we, nosotros. Cantar becomes cantamos. Okay? Vosotros is the plural of tú. It's only used in Spain. Latin Americans don't bother with this. Latin Americans find this, it would be cantáis, they find this problematic, a pain in the behind, and who the heck wants to use it? Because they don't. All right, so if you go to Spain, you will hear cantáis. You will hear the vosotros form, but nowhere else will you hear it because they don't bother with it, right? They only use ustedes to say you guys. So, para que sepan, so you know. And we will not practice that one separately because most people learn the Latin American version in the States. Okay, bien. To have a plural group of people doing the action, but yo is not in the group. I am not in the group. I'm talking about other people, a bunch of people, 2 people, 5 people, 500 people. It doesn't matter, but a bunch. And I'm not in that group. It becomes what they call third person plural, which is ellos, they, ellas, they, the all gal pronoun, and ustedes, you guys, plural. Those 3 share always the same endings, and it will become cantan, A-N. So what I want you to notice is that, wow, easy peasy. If yo is the subject, if yo, I am doing the action, whether it's an AR verb or an ER-IR verb, that ending is o. The ending is o across the board for first person talking about myself, yo. Okay, bien, the o ending. So there are going to be some similarities, and I want you to notice this and keep it in mind. Two verbs get an S at the end. Oh, if it's an AR verb, it still gets this vowel. For AR verbs, this vowel will predominate, will come back in many, not all, not 100%, but a lot of the conjugations. AR verbs like that vowel to come back in to the conjugation. So for tú, when it's as in cantas, you're singing, okay? A-S, the S at the end tells you it's tú. I'm talking about you, or, to you, okay? Bien. This vowel will just be hanging out there. It's just a naked vowel, okay? So AR verb, it gets the but the by itself, it's talking about one person, okay? This N is going to always peg the verb as a plural, they're doing it kind of verb. Okay, bien. The mos is always a trigger for we're doing it. Okay, that mos. The comes into the amos because it's an AR verb. Okay, so when you look at all regular verbs as a big category, AR verbs and ER verbs and IR verbs, look at these similarities. Two verbs get the same kinds of letters in the conjugation. Oh, third person plural gets just a vowel by itself. Oh, to talk about a bunch of people, we get that vowel plus the n sound at the end. And mos continues over, although mos is going to split up into three different forms eventually. Okay, so these are commonalities. They are common attributes that conjugations share. Okay, so kind of keep that in your back pocket. Okay, hopefully you had time to listen to this video because it's a very good introduction. Although he speaks Spanish with a little bit of a Texas accent, I have to say. Everybody's got an accent. Everybody has an accent. I got an accent. You got an accent. We all got accents. He should have a Texas accent. He lives in Texas. Okay. Texas. Bien. We're gonna take a look at what AR verbs are, and we're going to practice using these. One thing you should know, what the heck does it mean to say these are present tense verbs? What does that mean? Present presente means the action is happening now. But there are three ways. Oh, I'm going to take this off the screen just very momentarily and put a different screen up. There are three contexts, let's say, three situations in which people may use el presente, present tense. Okay, and I'm going to show you what they mean. Okay, there are contexts. Let's take cantar as our example, since we started with that. Cantar, to sing. Okay, here are the conjugations of cantar. Canto, cantas, canta, bien, cantamos, cantáis, although we're not going to practice with that one. And by the way, that was a rude awakening for me because I had to use it constantly when I was a student. And I did not, be from the States. We didn't use it that much. I had throw you in the pool. People use it in Spain. Cantan. There we go. The ustedes, you guys, form for most Spanish-speaking countries, and the they form cantan. Canto, cantas, canta, cantamos, cantáis, cantan. Okay. In the simplest terms, we could say that English equivalent would be sing or sings. Oh, only two forms. Well, yeah, more complicated, right? More complicated. Bien. But there are some other contexts we might use it. We might use any of these forms, these conjugations, to say someone is singing. That's still present, right? It means now. Yeah. We might also, in English, use the idea of someone, I do, or someone does sing. How do you explain to English? How do you explain that? How do you explain why in English we've got this crazy word do? Somebody's learning English. What function does that word do have? Oh, I do sing. Why do we need that? I don't know why we need that. Why do we need that? I don't know. We just use it. We just use it. Okay. So, bien. When we use presente, present tense, it can be used to talk about what really is happening. Happening right now. Okay. We might use presente to talk about what usually, let's put it this in, what someone, because you always have to put, right, yo, tú, and él, and ellos, that, etc. What someone usually does. What someone usually does as a habit, as a regular thing, as a part of their daily routine. Okay? Also, present tense might be used to indicate an activity I can spell activity that will happen in the near future. Okay, so, por ejemplo, for example, I might say, later on, I'm driving to the supermarket. But if I say I'm driving to the supermarket in that context of later on, I'm driving to the supermarket, or, por ejemplo, for example, at noon, I'm going to the post office. At 5 o'clock, I'll be cooking. Okay, that kind of near future. We can use presente, present tense, these verbs you see here, canto, cantas, canta, etc. We can use those to indicate something will happen very, very soon. Okay, within a few hours, but soon, near future, not a year from now. That's what I mean by near future. Okay, entienden? So present tense has a job, right? It talks about what really is going on. It talks about what somebody usually does as a part of their routine or their habit or their general, what they do in life on a daily basis. It can sometimes be used to talk about near future. So this is why these are the contexts in which we use presente. Bien? Okay. Bien. Let's move on. Because it's important. Es importante. It's important to know why we use it. Yeah. We cannot use this presente to talk about the past. All right. It doesn't have that job. So we're going to take a look at this. This is sort of a double-edged sword, I'm going to say, for this reason. We got the vocabulary side of verbs. We've got the conjugation side of verbs, and we have to marry the two. So in a pinch, to make yourself understood, the most essential thing is to know what the infinitive means. If you mess up a conjugation, somebody will be a little confused. They're going to have to work harder to understand you. but at least they'll know the action you're talking about. So we're going to take a look at what these words mean and then how we use them. Okay, and I'm working off of these slides with these pictures here. So we're going to work the vocabulary side of it first. Hablar, to speak, right? To speak or to talk. To speak a language, to say stuff, yeah, is hablar, hablar. Bien. Viajar, viajar. And notice when we say the infinitive, we always punch the end syllable. Yeah, it's not viajar, it's viajar, viajar. Viajar, to travel. Okay, bien. There are two verbs for walk. And regionally, people may prefer one or the other, but everybody knows what both of these words mean. So no confusion, whichever one you choose to use. Caminar, caminar, and andar, andar. Okay? Okay. To listen to, escuchar, escuchar, escuchar. Okay? Notice we don't have any cognates yet. We don't have anything that sounds like an English word up to this point. There are some verbs that are cognates, but not everything, okay? Comprar, to buy. Comprar. Okay, bien. To arrive or to, sometimes in English we say this as get to a place, you know, like I get to work at 8 o'clock. Yeah, this is the verb they use for that. Llegar, we got to have that double L. I want everybody to try this infinitive with me right now. Llegar, llegar. When it starts off with that double L, it's never a llegar. No, it's a llegar. A y sound. Llegar. Llegar, to arrive, to get to a place. Okay. Oh, first time ever. I've got a cognate. It means what you think it might mean. Usar. Usar. Be careful not to anglicize this one, not usar. 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 Bien? Usar. Nice, short, simple verb. Okay. We almost have a cognate for this. You know about ballet. Ballet, that term comes from the French, which has a similar verb. It's that Latin base. And we've got bailar. 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 To dance. And we've got something that, well, that almost looks like an English word, but we've got a g sound in the middle of it, okay? To pay is pagar. Pagar. Okay. Bien. Next one, ayudar. Ayudar. To help. Ayudar. Next, we have an actual cognate. It looks like study. It does mean study. Estudiar. Estudiar. Okay. Kind of fun fact. Ooh. Bumped me out of my keyboard. Sorry. Any verb that starts with an ST in English or an SP, Spanish can't do that. Notice that the word for Spanish is español. Anything that's an SP at the beginning of a word or anything that's an ST, like study, has to have an E in front of it. Okay? So, español, estudiar, especial, special, yeah, that's what happens. There's that little E in front of it, it has to be there. Estudiar, estudiar. This looks like necessary, so it helps us to remember that it means need. Necesitar, Necesitar. This is a hard verb to pronounce at first. It's got a bunch of syllables. Necesitar. Wow. Cuatro. Four syllables. So it's a long word for those of us who speak English. Necesitar. Then we've got for working, people working, not for machines or devices working. Trabajar. Okay. And the last one, this is a good one for traveling because sometimes we have to wait for something. But this verb has two definitions depending on the context. It can also mean to hope in certain situations. But for many travelers, we talk about waiting for your plane, waiting for a train, you're waiting for a bus, you're waiting for your taxi guy to come, that you're set up, anything like that. It is esperar. Bien? So to wait for, and the for is built into that verb. We don't say wait for in Spanish. We don't say the for part because that idea of the for is built into the verb itself. So esperar. Okay. With all of these, we need to take off that AR before we work on conjugating, getting it into the right form. So what we're going to do here, I'm going to do the first three, and then we're going to have everybody, actually, maybe people can volunteer to try a form. We're going to do what you see in the yellow. We're going to look at the person doing the action. You're going to have a prompt, meaning a pronoun or a name of a person, so you know who's doing that action. We're going to take the infinitive and we're going to conjugate it. All right. So in the example that you see at the very top, we've got hablar. If I want to say you're speaking, or if I want to ask, do you speak? Do you speak Spanish? Right? I've got to change hablar so that people know I'm talking to you. Yeah. So I take off the AR from hablar and I put on the AS, hablas. You can say tú hablas. It is more common. It is more the usual pattern for people to get rid of the whole word tú, because hablas only matches up with one possible human doing that. So their logic in their language is, why would I bother to say tú? If the conjugation is hablas, and we know that's for tú, why do I bother with that word tú? I don't. So it is not wrong to say tú hablas, but it is more usual to just hear the verb by itself, hablas. And everybody knows it means you're talking tú. Okay, bien. The next thing you're going to do is we're going to give a definition of what does that mean? What does hablas mean? It means either you speak or you are speaking. You speak, you're speaking. Bien? And that's what we're going to march down the line and do so that we practice what we do with these AR verbs. Bien? Okay? Vale? And we've got to get rid of this AR, usar. Usar. You know it's an AR verb because we're in this category. If I want to give it a form of yo, I'm going to give you an example here where I'm going to start off with this one. We get uso. Uso. It's okay for you to say yo uso, okay? But it sounds kind of, it's like what people would say if they were being very emphatic. Like, oh, I do use that. Oh, I do use that. Yeah. Usually people will just say uso. Uso means, it can mean either I use or I am using. Okay? So, uso mi teléfono, uso mi celular. I use my cell phone. Uso mi celular. I'm using my phone or I do use my phone. Uso. Bien? Okay. we're going to take a look at necesitar. Necesitar next. And we're going to talk about my friend needs. Now, in this case, people may actually use the mi amigo, right? This is just a prompt for you to know who we're talking about, who needs something. It's one person. And notice that mi amigo does not mean yo, right? My friend is not I. Mi amigo, the mi just means it's my friend, not your friend, not his friend, not our friend, but my friend. Okay, so the mi has no connection really to yo. Mi amigo, how do we conjugate this necesitar? Anybody have an idea?
Necesita.
Excelente. Necesita. Mi amigo necesita. Mi amigo necesita ayuda. My friend needs help. Mi amigo necesita ayuda. Okay. And it means he needs, or, well, do we ever say he is needing? Nah, that would not be a usual thing in English. Can I explain why? No, I can't. I just know that's not what we say. We'll just say somebody needs. He needs. Okay. Nosotros, we're going to use comprar to say we're buying. See? How do we change comprar for nosotros?
Compramos.
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 Compramos. It will be more usual for people to drop the nosotros altogether and only say by self, compramos. Compramos. Okay. Por ejemplo, compramos comida en el súper. Oh, keeps booting me out of my keyboard. Momentito. I lose my accent marks when it boots me out of my keyboard. Here we go. Compramos comida en el súper. We're buying food at the supermarket, right? Compramos means either it might mean we buy like we usually buy, or we are buying. Or it might even mean we're going to buy, at 3:00. Okay? Near future. Bien? Compramos. Fantástico. Ustedes, you guys, it's more than one you. We're going to talk about pagar. Pagar. How do we form this verb? Somebody wanted to take a stab at this one?
Pagan.
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 Yeah, okay. And we will not, the infinitive, we punch the end. Yeah. But the conjugated verb usually won't punch the end syllable. It'll punch the second to last. So pagan, pagan, right? Ustedes pagan. Ustedes pagan. It means you guys buy or you are buying. Okay, vale. That's the context we use it in. Viajar. Tú.
Viajas.
Viajas. Excelente. Viajas.
Viajas.
Viajas. Viajas. Viajas. The first A gets a little more punch. The I and the A really blend together. Viajas.
Viajas.
Viajas. And it means you travel or you are traveling. Or could even mean you're going to travel really soon. Por ejemplo, I'll give an example of each of those. Viajas por avión. Do you travel by plane? Somebody asks you, do you fly, right? Viajas por avión or viajas en avión. Or somebody might say an example like, viajas con tus amigos. You're traveling with your friends. Viajas con tus amigos, right? Or somebody might use, viajas a Tucson mañana, ¿no? Viajas a Tucson mañana, ¿no? You're traveling to Tucson tomorrow, aren't you? They'll just use presente to ask it because it's near future, right? I'm not going to use viajas if I'm saying, are you traveling next year to Cancun? right? Too far in the future to use, but I say they, but near future, we can do that. Okay, let's look at llegar. Yo, to say I get somewhere, I get to a place.
Uh,
And we've got us. Oh, did I go ahead?
Llego.
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 Llego. Now we're come to a very, very interesting point here. Llego. It'll have that
Llego.
yo sound. Yeah, llego. Now notice, I want you to be really specific. These verbs that end in o, you got to punch the second to last syllable. It's
Llego.
super important. And I'm going to show you briefly why. Uso, second u gets the punch, right? Llego, the ye gets the punch. Yeah. Llego. Okay. I'm going to show you what that means. Llego. You can, as you are getting your feet wet with conjugation, it is okay to combine the yo, llego. It is okay to combine the two so that you're making that association. But do know, people will notoriously drop the word yo, right? But what does that mean? It's used to say, I arrive, or I am arriving, or you know what? Really, in this context, people very frequently really mean when they say this, I get to. So, por ejemplo, I'll give you an example. Llego a la oficina. I arrive at the office. I get to the office. Llego a la oficina a las 9. I get to the office at 9. Right? You might say I arrive at the office at 9, but I get there at 9. Okay. In English, we have a habit of liking that idea of get to a place, get there. Yeah. Llego a la oficina. Bien. Okay. Why is it important to punch the second to last syllable, not the end? Because I'm going to show you what happens. If you punch the end, you will really confuse the hell out of whoever you're talking to. Here's why. There is a verb, uso. It's spelled the same. The yo form, if I punch the end, it turns it into a past tense verb. And it's no longer yo. Uso means he or she used in the past. So if I punch the o at the end, it's a big, big no-no. Okay, big Not uso, but uso. Not llegó, but llego. Similarly, if I punch the o at the end of llego, if I don't pronounce it llego, if I pronounce it llegó, it means he arrived. So don't punch the o at the end. It turns it into a past tense in many, many cases. Okay. And then you'll confuse people saying, did he already do it? Or is he going to do it? I'm confused. Who are you talking about? We could not ever say, yo llegó. That makes no sense to anybody. They'll be completely confused. So don't punch the o at the end. Okay. Punching the o at the end turns it into a different time when that is happening, and that means past. Okay. Llego, uso, necesito, compro, pago, viajo. Okay. Got the idea here? Sí. Okay. Escuchar. My friend listens to. Mi amiga? And we got the little, yeah, it's an AR verb. It's going to have the naked vowel hanging off the end.
Escucha.
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 Escucha. Escucha. Escucha. And that means she listens. she is listening.
Escucha.
So if I say, mi amiga escucha a Taylor Swift, right? It could mean my friend listens to Taylor Swift like often. That's her fave. Or it might mean she's listening to her right now. Or, oh yeah, she does listen to Taylor Swift, right? Or, see, bien. Okay, so, mi amiga escucha. Mi amiga escucha música en el carro. My friend listens to music in the car. Mi amiga escucha música con audífonos, with headphones. Yeah, see? Bien. Anything like that. Okay. A ver. Ayudar. We want to say we're helping. Nosotros
Ayudamos.
ayudamos. Ayudamos. Everybody knows that ayudamos can only be talking about us doing it, right? About we, nosotros. So people will typically skip that whole word nosotros and only say ayudamos. Okay. Bien. Ayudamos means we help or we are helping. Por ejemplo, for example, let's put it in context. Ayudamos a mamá, we're helping mom. Ayudamos a mamá con la cena. We're helping mom with dinner. Okay, bien. Ayudamos a los vecinos. We're helping the neighbors. Okay, bien. Esperar, to wait. Turistas, we want to talk about tourists.
Esperan.
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 Esperan. We second to last syllable, we punch harder. Esperan. 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 Los turistas esperan. I might include the los turistas here. I might include them. Okay, so that we know, so that you know who I am specifically talking about. When I use these él, ella, usted, or ellos, ellas, ustedes verbs, it can pertain to a huge number of people. So you will often hear a human being actually pegged to that verb so that we know who we're talking about, right? The yo verb, we know we're talking about yo, it's only one pronoun. The nosotros verb, it's only one. The tu verb, it's only one person. But third person, yeah, singular or plural, we often name whoever it is that's doing it. So the tourists are, wait, or they are waiting, right? Los turistas esperan aquí. Los turistas esperan aquí. Tourists are waiting here, okay? Los turistas esperan afuera, outside, afuera, okay? Los turistas esperan el tren. The tourists are waiting for the train. Los turistas esperan el tren. Bien. Okay. But caminar. We want to use the polite you, usted. Usted shares the same form with él or ella, always the same kind of verb. So to say you walk is usted
Caminar.
camina.
Camino.
Usted camina. Usted camina. Usted camina. Okay. You walk or you are walking. Okay.
And
Bien.
I have a question about using usted.
Sí.
When you always use usted. It wasn't like you would drop the you.
Oh, can I drop that word usted?
Yeah.
You know what? You can.
Mm.
And as a matter of fact, people will. Let me give you let me take this off screen for a minute. Let me give you an example. You walk, okay. Bien. Somebody tells you you've got to walk 5 blocks. Yeah. Kind of you're lost. Oh, you're lost. You ask the question, ¿Cómo llego a? ¿Cómo llego a? How do I get to? ¿Cómo llego a la farmacia? How do I get to the pharmacy? ¿Cómo llego a la farmacia? How do I get to the pharmacy? And the person says, you walk 5 blocks. Yeah? Fácil, easy, because they're always going to tell you it's easy to get there, even if it's not. Es fácil, it's easy, it's always easy, even if it's not. Es fácil. If they're looking straight at you, yeah, they'll drop that word usted. Camina 5 cuadras. Camina 5 cuadras. You walk 5 blocks. Camina. Now, they might say, usted camina 5 cuadras, but if I'm looking you straight in the eye and you just ask me, Joe Blow on the street, you got no clue who I am, right? You're going to talk to me. We're going to talk to each other using usted, right? And if I'm making eye contact with you, you know it's usted. Why would I bother to say it? That's the way they think. And they'll just use that verb, camina. Just like if somebody says, hey, how are you? You know, they don't know you at all. You're walking up to the, I don't know, you're walking up to the counter at the airport or wherever, right? And the typical chit chat of, oh, how are you? ¿Cómo está? Right? They mean, ¿cómo está usted? ¿Cómo está usted? But they'll drop the usted. ¿Cómo está? If they're looking you straight in the eye, they assume you get it. Yeah. That's just reality. They are notoriously famous for dropping the pronouns. We cannot do that in English. How are? ¿Cómo está? How are? How are they? How are you? How are we? Yeah, we can't do that in English, but they drop the pronoun all the time in Spanish. Okay. Bien. Let's take a look at trabajar with ustedes. We want to say you guys work. Yeah. Ustedes, and this is a long word. So let's look at what happens when we take away the AR, right? Ustedes, and it's got to be more than one you, right? So trabajan.
Trabajan.
Trabajan. Trabajan. Perfecto. Trabajan. Trabajan. Ustedes trabajan. Ustedes trabajan. They may drop the ustedes if I'm looking at if I am a boss and I'm looking at 3 guys that work for me, I'm not going to bother with the ustedes. They know I'm talking to them. Yeah. Trabajan. Okay. What does that mean? Ustedes trabajan. You guys work or you are working. For example, ustedes trabajan en la tienda. No, you guys work in the store, don't you? The no means don't you? Yeah. Ustedes trabajan en la tienda, ¿no? Ustedes trabajan aquí. No, you guys work here, right? Bien. Okay. Ustedes trabajan a las 12. You guys are working at 12. You're not working now. You're working at 12, right? Okay. So we can talk about near future using that verb. Okay. Por fin. Finally, es el último. Sí, es el último verbo. It's our last verb. We're going to take the yo form for estudiar. And I want you to notice estudiar ends in an I-A-R, E-A-R, E-A-R. We take away the A-R. I still got that little I hanging out there. And that little hangnail I has to still be there. Okay. So when I take off the A-R, I get this. Yo
Estudio.
estudio.
Studio.
But notice, estudio.
Estudio.
Ah, bien. We're going to show you why. Estudio. Estudio. Estudio means I study. I do study. I am studying. It can mean any of those combinations depending on the context. Yeah. Por ejemplo, estudio español. I study Spanish. Estudio. Estudio con ustedes. I'm studying with you guys. Estudio con with. Estudio con ustedes. I'm studying with you guys. See? Estudio tarde a las 7. I'm studying later at 7. See, I can talk about near future. Bien? Estudio. Here's why it's important to give the punch. If I punch the end, that means it gets an accent mark on the O. If I punch the end, it means he studied, she studied. It turns it into past for third person. So don't punch the O at the end, yeah? If I talk to somebody and I say, estudió ayer, estudió italiano, estudió italiano, estudió means he studied Italian. Estudio italiano means I am studying Italian right now. Estudió italiano means he studied Italian. Oh, he did that like when he was a kid or last year, I don't know, sometime in the past, right? So, cuidado, careful. When you've got the endings, punch the second. Really, on all of these, we're punching to the second to the last syllable. So I'm going to show you that again. Which syllable gets the emphasis becomes really kind of important. And with all of these verbs, unless you see a written accent mark, yeah. If it's got a written accent mark, there's a reason. It means, we're punching something you didn't expect. And here's where you put the punch. That's what the accent means. The accent mark has a job. And its job is to say, we're not stressing the thing you think you should that follows a rule. We're breaking a rule and we're punching a different syllable. And I'm going to show you where we actually put that punch because it's not where you think it should be. That's the job of the accent mark. So we're going to take a look at all these verbs one more time. We're going to see that they all punch or give more emphasis to this, not the last syllable, but second to last. Or
So
like
all
my
you have to
husband.
do to make it past tense is add that accent mark.
No, it's
Okay.
not that easy. I'll show you later. How's that? Because I don't want to confuse you now with, if I throw in all the past tense conjugations, it's going to become a great big wad of gum that's just hanging there. And it's going to get very sticky and very uncomfortable. It's like too much memorization at once is what I'm saying.
That's
Okay.
good.
So we're going to see where we punch each, and you're going to see it's always second to last syllable. Estudio, right? Trabajan. Camina. I didn't hold my me. Camina. right? Not caminar, right? Caminar, well, caminar means, no, it doesn't mean anything at all. Caminar, no, camina, bien? Esperan, bien? Ayudamos, yeah, second to last syllable. Whoop. Okay, so our end syllable is cha, but it's escucha. Okay, bien. I'm really emphasizing it now. And of course, when people speak at a regular pace, they won't make it that emphatic, but just that you get used to this. Llego, not llegó. Okay, bien. Viajas, second to last, right? Pagan, second to last. Compramos, second to last. Necesita. Bien. Here, very simple. Oh, I just got one little lonely letter there. Uso, right? Even here, hablas. Bien. Okay. So when we conjugate the verb, the heavier stress, the heavier punch in our voice falls on the second to last syllable, right? The infinitive, it falls on the end, but not on the conjugated verbs, okay? Hablas, uso, necesita, compramos, pagan, viajas, llego, escucha, ayudamos, esperan, camina, trabajan, estudio. Bien, okay? And I'm going to leave those up there. Oh, actually, we're going to go back to this for just a quick second. Okay, we're going to take that quick question that you had of, if I just punch the end, does that mean it's past? Well, it isn't that simple, of course. Whoa, it's never that simple. If only it were. Let's take a quick look, though. Let's take let's take our friendly verb hablar. And we're going to look at the present tense form. Hablo. Hablamos. Hablas. We'll skip our habláis, but that would be the vosotros form. Habla and hablan. Bien. Okay. If we turn those into the past, they become this. Hablé, hablaste, and you're going to see these are like different conjugations. So they tell you a different time. Yeah. They keep the HABL, but the ending is different. And as we're telling you, oh, not now, but in the past, right? Habló. He spoke or she spoke. Hablamos. Curiously, exact same thing. Wow, ¿qué pasó? What happened there? And then past will be hablaron. So that's how the conjugation, we don't always stick an O at the end, but look at this. That at the end tells you past tense, that tells you past. Really, these endings on their own. Some carry accent marks, some do not. Yeah. But when it carries an accent mark, it means, oh, you know what? This would not be the usual syllable to stress, but I'm telling you, this is the way we say it. We punch the end. So that just gives you an idea. Every time somebody speaks using a different tense, there's going to be a different set of those conjugations, but yo will always get a conjugation. Tú will always get a conjugation. Él, ella, usted will always get a conjugation. What a pain in the behind that is. But it is the way they speak. So we want to tackle just this present tense right now. Okay, bien. What kind of questions do you have for me at this point before we do some more practice? Nothing? Okay. It's a double-edged sword. If we're going to be learning, you're just going to be learning a lot of things where you got to know, oh, this infinitive means a certain kind of activity, and then we got to conjugate it, right? Let's take a look at some more examples here. AR verbs. These are regular verbs. There are going to be some verbs that are irregular for AR. So we're just looking at the regular ones for right now. Dejar. Dejar means to leave something behind. Actually, dejar has a lot of meanings. It can mean to leave something behind, like you leave a tip behind, or you leave papers behind at your desk. Or it can actually mean to allow somebody to do something. It can also mean to stop, oddly, to stop doing something if I combine it with de. But let's just look at to leave something behind. And if we want to say dejar, and we want to change it, right? Nobody's going to say ever nosotros dejar. They got to change that dejar. They want to say we are leaving books in the house. We're leaving the books in the house. We're not leaving them at school. We're not leaving them at the office. We're leaving the books at the house. Okay. Nosotros. And we got to start there.
Dejamos.
Dejamos. Perfecto. Dejamos los libros en la casa. We're leaving the books at the house. Dejamos. Okay. Bien. Pasar, which means to pass, as in hand something over, or it can mean like to pass, as in walk along, or it can mean to come on in to a building. Here we're saying that the teacher is passing through the park, meaning she's taking a stroll there, okay? And we need to keep this part of pasar, P-A-S, we drop the AR. La profesora
Pasa.
pasa. Pasa por el parque. The por there means through. La profesora pasa por el parque. She's going through the park. Dejar. Oh, we want the yo form of dejar. I'm leaving the books at home. Yo?
Dejo.
Dejo. And I heard that as de. Maravilloso. Dejo. Dejo los libros en la casa. Dejo los libros en la casa. Bien? Okay. Amar, to love. And this is romantic love. Okay, we would not, well, some people do use it to say something like, I love ice cream, but usually for romantic love. So I keep the AM part, amar, I take away the AR. Nosotros
Amamos.
amamos a Teresa. Oh, we love Teresa. Teresa's a new little baby. Amamos a Teresa. We love her. See, amamos a Teresa. That little a is just a structure is called the a personal. If a human being is a direct object, if they receive the action of the love, and if it's a human being, we have to put an a in front of their name. It doesn't translate to anything. It just has to be there. Mirar means to look at. To watch something, to look at something and contemplate it. Yeah. Bien. Okay. Alfredo. I'm talking about one guy, and I want to talk about he is looking at the sea, el mar. Alfredo.
Mira.
Mira. Alfredo mira el mar. He's looking at the sea. He's looking at the ocean. Alfredo mira el mar. Bien. Okay. This is a just little shorty thing. I'll send you that. See, I think that site might give you different prompts. Let's take a look at a different one. If it will let me back in. See, I'm going to give you the website to this. Bien. I'm going to hope it remembered my prompt to leave out vosotros. Okay. This is a fun little thing. We got it. Oh, we need to take hablar and change it to work with nosotros.
Hablamos.
Vamos.
Hablamos. Bien. Okay. Bien. I want to use caminar in the yo form.
Camino.
Camino, bien. The yo form, it's kind of easy for us to, associate that yo ends in an o. That verb is always going to end in an o, right? Yo camino. Bien. Yo estudiar.
Estudio.
Estudio. Bien. She is studying. Ella.
Estudia.
Estudia. And the at the end does not mean it's a gal. It just means she, one person, right? The at the end is because it's an AR verb, not because she's a female. Bien. Ellos, bailar. They're dancing.
Elan. Bahia.
Bye. We got a na at the end.
Bailan.
Bailan. Okay. Y cuidado, careful with this verb because it looks like the English word bail, right? They bailed him out of jail. People, your English brain really desperately wants to pronounce this as bailar, but no es bailar. 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 Bailan. Bailan a la música de Shakira. They're dancing to the Shakira music. Yo, nadar. Nadar means to swim. To swim. Yo.
Nado.
Nado. Perfecto. Nado. Usted, llevar. Llevar means to take somebody somewhere, like in your car, or to take an item to somebody's desk, to their house, to wherever. Usted.
Lleva.
Lleva. Sí, lleva. Él, cantar. He's singing.
Canto.
Canto would mean I'm doing it.
Canta.
Canta. The at the end can be talking about a guy that's an at the end because it's cantar, an AR verb, right? Canta. Pasear is different from pasar. Pasar means to pass or enter, come in to a place. Pasear means to stroll, to take a walk. So when I conjugate this, I have to keep this a letter. I have to keep that. I'm getting rid of only the AR. Yo paseo. Yo paseo. Okay, bien. We're supposed to skip vosotros. I'm going to put it in. Bien, okay. We're just going to get rid of that. Yo, I'm looking at. Mirar, to look at.
Miro.
Miro. Yo, I sing. Canto. Bien, canto. Why give me the same one here? Let's see. Okay. Cocinar means to cook. To cook. If we want to say we're cooking. Cocinamos. Cocinamos el pescado. We're cooking fish. Limpiar means to clean. To clean. So I've got limpi to begin with. Limpio. Limpio. Limpio la cocina. I'm cleaning the kitchen. Limpio el baño. I'm cleaning the bathroom. Limpio mi escritorio. I am, oh, it logged out. Okay. Yeah. So I'll give you that. It will generate new stuff. When you go to this website, it's going to ask you, do you want to practice with vosotros? Tell it no. Okay. Unless you truly do need to learn the vosotros form. So here we go. Now let's move on to something harder. I think I need to make this smaller. Okay. They give us a word bank. Here's our word bank. Actually, I can make this a little bit bigger. Un poquito más grande. Okay. These are all regular verbs. They're all ARs. Okay. And we got a word bank so that you know what the infinitives mean. So let's take a look. To look for. Buscar. This is a really useful word. When you come into a store, people may say, ¿Qué buscas? Or ¿Qué busca usted? What are you looking for? ¿Qué busca? ¿Qué busca? Buscar. Caminar, we've seen. Cenar, to eat dinner. That's us talking about eating at a specific time of the day. Last meal of the day. Desayunar, to eat breakfast, specifically the first meal of the day. Escuchar, we've had before, to listen to. Estudiar, to study. Llamar, with a se tagged onto the end. This means to be named. And you use this in the first lesson. Me llamo. Yeah. There it's not enough to say llamo. It's me llamo. My name is. And we're just going to do a few examples, and then I'm going to leave this for you to do on your own, and it will correct for you. Llegar, to arrive. Practicar, to practice. Preparar, we've got a true cognate here. To prepare. Bien. Regresar, to return to a place. So to come back. Yeah. Regresar. Sacar una nota is to get a grade. A nota is often used to indicate a grade in school. Saludar looks like salute. It does mean that. When somebody salutes in the military, they're greeting somebody in a formal way. Saludar means to greet. Okay. Tomar means to take. It can also mean to eat or to drink. Trabajar, we worked with today. That means to work. And usar, to use. Oh, yeah, it's also used to say wear in some places. We're going to do about 3 of these. And I'm going to leave the rest for you to do as like a homework. And you'll see you can correct it. You can hit the correct button when you finish, and it'll tell you whether you were right or wrong. And then it's going to go for round 2. Yeah. Same thing. You're still going to use the word bank at the top, and then it'll give you round 3. And again, you can correct each segment. So we're just going to do 3 of these. Yeah. So that you can see the first 3. We're going to take the first one because this is going to tell a story. Yeah. It's all in context. And they're telling you which verb they want you to use in each slot. So they want you to convey the idea of my name is. The person is saying, my name is Celia Castillo. Me
llamo.
llamo Celia Castillo. She's talking about herself. She's saying yo. Yo soy cubana. I'm Cuban. Yo soy cubana. Y this. Esta es una foto de mi clase. This is a photo of my class. Okay. Cuban little girl. I study in a school in Havana. Yo
Estudio.
estudio en una escuela en La Habana. La Habana is the way they say Havana. It's always with a la. I can't tell you why. It just is. Estudio en una escuela en La Habana, Cuba. I get to school at 30. Joe? We want you.
Llego.
Llego a la escuela a las 8:30 de la mañana. And we're going to do one more. And I eat breakfast in the cafeteria with my friends. Y we need to use desayunar.
Right.
And she's still talking about what I do. See?
Desayuno.
No.
Desayuno. So we're looking for, who are we talking about? This yo here carries over from this verb and this. She's talking about doing two things. I get to school, I eat breakfast, right? So you're always looking for who is the subject of the sentence, who is doing the action. In this case, we've got a lot of yo. And the next sentence is going to start with a yo also. Now, she may change that later on. She's going to change it at some point to say, todos los estudiantes en Cuba, all the students in Cuba. That cannot use a yo verb. It's got to use a they verb. ¿Entienden? Understand? See? Okay. So you're going to carry on and do the rest of this as homework between now and next week. Yeah. It's only going to use the AR verbs and just the AR verbs that are in this list. And you see what the meaning of the sentences are. So, and it's split up into 3 segments. Okay. So when you get done with each segment, hit the correct button and it'll show you if you're right or wrong. Yeah. So I'm going to send that off so that you get some extra practice in the context of an actual story. Yeah. Okay. I want to use our last few minutes to do 2 things. Okay. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to show you briefly the video you're going to watch to prep for next week's practice. Hey, he's going to talk about ER and IR verbs because we talk about those together. In really all the tenses in Spanish, whether it's present or past or future, ER and IRs kind of hang together. They're in the buddy club, meaning they're going to use a lot of the same kind of forms. And he'll explain that whole thing in the video, okay? I'm going to show you with the chart again. Ooh. With our basics chart. Yay! These are the ones you're going to be looking at for the coming week. And he's going to talk about something called the boot. And the boot means that he's going to look at yo, tú, él, ella, usted, and ellos, ellas, ustedes, and he's going to leave out nosotros and vosotros, okay? In the boot, because if you drew a line around it all, because you'll see it in the video, if you drew a line around those subjects, it would look like a boot. Okay. In the boot, ER and IR verbs are going to share and use the same kind of endings. So here's what that means for you. When you learned conjugations for ER verbs and for IR verbs, there's only one potential subject where they're going to go a separate direction and do their own thing, and they're not going to share. There's only one subject where they will not share the same conjugation, and that's nosotros. Okay. Okay. Technically, they also don't share conjugations for vosotros, the you guys, the plural of tú. But you know what? Nobody in Latin America going to use that. So if you go to Spain, super useful. If you don't go to Spain, completely useless. Okay. So what you need to know is ER and IR verbs are going to go their own separate ways and use different endings for nosotros. But aside from nosotros, they're going to use the same kind of endings. And the wonderful, wonderful thing is we still get rid of the ER off of ER verbs. We still get rid of the IR off of IR verbs. But we're going to use these ending. Yay! Yo still uses O. Yay! Nothing new to learn. If who's doing the action is yo, if I'm talking about myself, yo ends in an O, it uses O. We don't punch that O, right? We punch the second to last syllable, but O is the ending. And again, we're going to take our cue from this vowel, the e. Just like the a got repeated in a lot, not all, but a lot of these vowel form or verb forms. The e is going to get repeated in a lot of forms, okay? The tu form is going to be an es. Bien? See? We'll see some examples in just a minute. The el, ella, usted ending is going to be e. A naked vowel, just hanging off the end like a hangnail, just like it did there. Just the vowel that tells you, oops, not an AR verb, but ER and IR verbs. Okay. Ellos, ellas, ustedes, going to use en, en, the n. And notice we've got those letters in separate colors are there for a reason to show you the patterns. Yeah. That certain patterns exist. Let's look at where they part their ways. They part their ways for nosotros. And for nosotros forms, ER verbs are going to adopt and take on that e vowel. They're going to keep the mos, hemos, but IR verbs are going to say, nope, we're going to keep the e sound of ir, and we're going to take hemos. We're going to keep that vowel e from the IR, okay? I'm going to show you an example in each of those two categories, ER verbs and IR verbs. ¿Dónde está? ¿Dónde está? Okay, so that you can see how they all work. Let's clear these out, pull up a new screen. Aquí vamos. Here we go. Oh, let's take a fun verb, beber. Beber means to drink, often referring to liquor, but not always. Often referring to alcohol. Okay, beber. And then we're going to take a look at, I take the one that everybody uses. No, we're going to take this one. Compartir. It means to share. You want to share your lunch? You want to share tapas? Yeah. You want to share a dish of tacos? You're going to share. Yeah. Compartir. These are both regular verbs. ER verbs. Bebo uses an O. Comparto. Compar. Comparto. I'm sharing. But if I make it yo and somebody else in the group with me, yeah, they're going to go separate ways. It's bebemos. I keep the e sound of beber. And compartimos. Imos. They go their separate ways for nosotros. Now, look, everywhere else, they're going to share. Okay. Bebes. Compartes. Bebe. He's drinking, she's drinking. Beben. They're drinking, or you guys are drinking. Comparte. He or she is sharing. Comparten. They are sharing. Wow. ER and IR verbs, most of the time, share endings. They only go their separate ways. Here, hemos, and here, hemos. Okay? Bien? So, AR verbs are definitely the biggest category of the three, AR, ER, IR. ER and IR, smaller groups, certainly still important because they'll convey different ideas. We don't want to say that, these are unimportant because they are important. I'm going to show you the verbs you're going to be checking out to see and practice next week. Ooh, and again, ooh. I'll show you only the picture part. I got to take out the answers before I get into the link. Here we go. Same thing. We need to learn vocabulary. What the heck does the infinitive by itself mean? If it's not even conjugated, what does it mean? Okay. We've got comer, to eat, comer. We've got leer. It's got a double E. That just means we drag out the A sound longer, like a drawl. Not leer, but leer. Yeah, leer, to read. Comprender, to understand. I'll be honest with you, this verb, which also means understand, entender, is more common, but it also has a funny stem change like tener has. So we'll practice a little more with comprender. Vender, to sell. Like a vending machine sells you a bag of chips. Yeah. Responder, to respond. It's a cognate. Beber, to drink. Often alcohol, but doesn't have to be alcohol. Okay. Vivir, to live. Yeah. Abrir, to open a door, a window, a bottle, a can. Open anything. Abrir. Think abracadabra. And it opens up. Yeah. Think abracadabra. Abrir, an IR verb. Escribir, to write. Bien. Okay. Next week, we're going to see, we're going to do a practice. I'm going to take the answers out so you don't see them when you get the link. We're going to do the same thing we did this past week, but we're going to do them with ER and IR verbs. Bien. See? Vale? Bueno? Okay. So you get the video on ER and IR verbs. You'll get these pictures that'll help you, cement in your brain what does that verb mean. Bien. I'm going to say one other thing. One other quick, well, not caveat, just information. We've been using a lot of these verbs. We've been using a lot of them as statements of fact. But if I want to turn something into a question, what happens is generally to ask a question, and you got to conjugate the verb to ask a question, we'll move the verb into like a front type position in the sentence. So I'll give you an example. ¿Compras esta camiseta? Are you buying this t-shirt? Yeah. Do you buy or are you buying is we move the verb to the very front spot to make a question. And you do with your voice like you do in English with the pitch. Yeah. ¿Compras esta camiseta? Not compras esta camiseta. That's a fact. ¿Compras esta camiseta? Are you buying this t-shirt? Okay. Bien. Okay. Another way we form questions with that conjugated verb is we may have one of the interrogative, the question words. Por ejemplo. And in that case, the interrogative, the question word will come first, and then the verb will follow. Por ejemplo, for example, somebody wants to ask, hey, what are you buying? ¿Qué compras? ¿Qué compras? The que, the question word, has to come first, and then the conjugate verb. ¿Qué compras? What are you buying? ¿Qué estudias? What are you studying? ¿Sí? Okay. A question word will come up first. Bien? Or, por ejemplo, a different question word might be, ¿Cuándo estudias? When do you study? That means they want to know a time period. ¿Cuándo estudias? When do you study? So the interrogative comes first and then the verb next. That's the word order for questions. Either the verb comes up front in a question to ask, or we got a question word because I need more than a yes, no answer. And then I have the verb. ¿Cuándo estudias? Estudio mañana. I'm studying tomorrow, por ejemplo. Okay, bien, as the answer. Okay, está bien. We good? Sí, sí.
Sí.
Bien, ok, vale, fantástico. A ver, ER verbs for next week, we'll practice, we'll build some easy questions that you'll, typically hear. I'll give you some pages out of the book to take a look at. And next week is our last class of winter session, okay? Todo bien, all good. Excelente. Bueno, nos vemos el 28. Sí, el 28 de marzo. Wow, already going to be the 28th of March. Ok, vale. Fantástico. Muchísimas gracias y nos vemos. See you guys later. Sí, nos vemos.